So welcome everybody to another match of this randomizer tournament. We can already begin looking over the board a little bit. Probably most of note is the tiebreaker goal, Complete Path of Pain, appearing one. So we'll see if this race can come down to that.
I don't think we've seen anybody do Path of Pain yet, so that'll be interesting if it comes down to that.
Yeah, so we have to root for a close one here. We'll see.
And we're off.
All right, so we see them both making their way through King's Pass here. We can take a look at the board for what some of the early goals can be. So there's a few that are fairly late game. For example, Path of Pain, of course, but some of the early ones could be Vengefly King and Massive Boss Charger. As soon as they get Green Path access, they can begin to go for that.
They can also do the Talk to Cloth. That's as soon as they have Dash and not Claw.
This is true, yeah. I'm not sure if Cloth actually spawns in the Fungal Waste in the Randomizer, though. I guess we'll have to see. It's interesting that the Talk to Cloth and the complete either ending of the Cloth quest line are both on this board. Of course, it requires you to defeat Trader Lord to complete either ending of the Cloth quest line. Which ending you get just determines whether you kill Trader Lord before or after saving Cloth in Deep Nest, not Deep Nest, in the Ancient Basin.
Yeah, so as long as the runners don't have Cloth will spawn in Fungal, so that could be a early goal. And with the early Tram Pass.
So this is one of those situations where you're really glad that neither runner decided to skip checking Fury. Tram Pass can be early access to the resting grounds if either runner decides to choose so. They will need access to Dive in order to get down from there into the right side of the City of Tears, though.
Bapanada.
With the early Vengefly King and Moss Charger on the board, I don't know who's actually going to try to go over to Essence, especially if they get that early way into Fungal or Green
Absolutely, yeah. Isma's Tier actually gives them immediate access into Fungal. We'll see if either runner decides to take advantage of it. So lots of potential progression early on here. We'll see Jason decide to check the Shopkeeper's Key. Unfortunately, that leaves him with only 3 Geo, so he has to hope he finds some Geo on the way before he can buy anything.
Gonna get our first look at Grubs.
Yeah, so here's an interesting choice. You have Tash checking all the grubs here. I believe not finding anything particularly useful there. I may have missed something, but meanwhile, Jason is heading down and presumably going straight to shops, given that he's picked up the Shopkeeper's Key.
So with no grubs on the board and nothing viable at grubs, this is going to be an interesting grub free seed.
Absolutely. Of course, from Jason's point of view, he doesn't know what was at Grubs just yet. So it may be that he collects some along the way before he gets a chance to go back and check them. Jason sitting here comfortably at 1 HP. No worries at all that this can kill him here in the Forgotten Cross. So it will be interesting to see both runners picking up that Isma's Tier, whether one of them decides to go into the Fungal Waste early. It seems like Jason is in fact going to check at least Sly to see what's behind Shopkeeper's Key before deciding which area to go to next. And City Storeroom Stag here. at the Forgotten Crossroads stag. That's also very early progression. There's several checks in the city storerooms that are accessible right from the beginning of the game, and we'll see that from Tash right now.
Tash going immediately to check the storerooms and see if he backs out. Nope, he's gonna keep going to check the relic under the bridge and maybe the elevator.
Yeah, if he decides to check the elevator, it'll be an interesting play. That costs, I believe, 150 Geo, and as we've seen already, Geo is pretty tight on this seed. Oh, he finds Unbreakable Greed. That's actually really good for him. 2 Unbreakable Charms is on this board, so he only needs 1 more to get that goal.
Bapanada.
Which he saw at Aselda, but does not have enough money to get.
Yep, so there's that early Geo problem. Of course, Unbreakable Greed has the benefit of giving him extra Geo, so we'll see if that pays off for him in the short run here. Didn't look like much. I missed the beginning of what was that slide. I didn't see if there was anything particularly interesting there, but Jason doesn't have enough money to buy it in any case. Apparently Hidden Station Stag was there, which is interesting. It's a little bit early in the game to be worried about Hidden Station Stag. There aren't too many checks there, but there is at least the check at the Stag Station itself, and that is access down into the basin, if that becomes relevant a little bit later on.
Yeah, especially if we get an early, like, Kingsbrand.
Yeah, those are always the seeds you don't hope to see, where you have Hidden Station Stag and Kingsbrand, but no movement. It's never fun to go down there before you get too much movement. And it looks like we'll see the False Knight fight from Tash. Interesting that neither player decides to head down into Fungal Waste despite having Isma's tier early on. And similarly, I guess you hope whoever finds Dive first is probably going to be the first to head into Resting Grounds. I suspect they don't want to go there if they're only going to be able to get the checks in Resting Grounds itself.
It's always good to know how much essence you're gonna need, though.
Yeah, that is very true, especially in a 1v1 where the amount of essence you need to collect can make a difference of several minutes in your routing. So it actually looks like Jason might be heading down into Fungal Waste now. We'll see if he grabs this grub. I believe he still hasn't checked them. No, he'll just ignore them and hope that there's nothing there. Oh, and speak of the devil, Tash finding Dive at False Knight, so that's big. I would expect him to go use that tram pass and head down into the right side of the City of Tears with that.
Yeah, we're gonna get to see the Resting Grounds and Crypts relatively soon, I would imagine.
Yeah, he'll make sure to do this Ancestral Mountain check first. We'll see if he decides to go after the Soul Catcher check, which is behind a Balder. He can kill that Balder with Desolate Dive, but it's a bit of a slow check. Yeah, and he decides to just warp out immediately.
Yeah, that check is so easy to get when you have Claw.
Bapanada.
Tash making the decision to ignore that shop key and go for the 2 Unbreakable Charms goal right away. That's a pretty helpful goal for him, but as the geo routing's pretty tight so far, as you can see, one runner at 7 and the other at 1, it may come to cost him if he needs some geo later on.
We haven't actually seen how Shopkeeper's Key is going to pay off yet, so, I mean, getting a square this early could help. I mean, especially if Shopkeeper's Key is just loaded with relics.
Yeah, absolutely, especially if you're about to go to the right side and you'll have Lem access, but I guess he figured Jason might be right behind him on that goal. And we'll see Jason mark the Talk to Cloth goal that we were discussing just a minute ago, so that's one benefit of heading down into Fungal early. He gets to Talk to Cloth almost right away. But we'll see if this progression from Tash makes that more of an advantage for him.
Interesting to know that the runners, or at least Tash, knows where Jason is right now because of that mark-off.
Right, absolutely. And I don't believe Jason knows. Yeah, actually, he did go and check the storeroom, so he did see where the other unbreakable charm was. So he may have some suspicions, but can't really know for sure where Tash is. And we'll see Tash do one of the longer cutscenes in the game here, the Dream Nail cutscene. Unfortunately, there's no way to skip it if you're coming from this direction into the resting grounds. So he just has to go through it. It's one check, and it takes about probably 45 seconds to a minute to go through. We'll see Jason continuing in Fungal here.
We get a white fragment from Jason, which might come into play later. But we see him continuing, probably working his way through to get the Explosion Tower and then Queen Station.
Yep, that looks like that's what he is going for. You have to hope that he doesn't find another one of those white fragments for that Hidden Station Stag Abyss play, but, you know, well, we've got a ways off before we see that come into play, hopefully. Oh, unfortunately, he misses that jump. This is actually a very tight jump when you don't have dash, and these spores can get out of hand really quick, as you unfortunately see there from Jason. Tash making the decision not to check Essence. He doesn't have Dream Nail yet, so it kind of makes sense. He doesn't have access to any of those anyway, but it could come into play later if he does acquire Dream Nail. He might end up killing some, and he finds King's Brand, so we'll see if we have this.
And there's that play we were talking about with the King's Brand. Hate to see it. You hate to see.
Okay, so where's the other white fragment? That's the actual question. We got Hidden Station Stag and King's Brand. We just need one more white fragment for the absolute curse seed.
Or at this point, we need a Bish Streak so you can check the or Howling Raid so you can check a Bish Streak.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, they can't currently check I think anything in Abyss, but hopefully by the time they go down there, that will have changed. Yeah, so Tash will show us the Crypts checks here. He doesn't have access to most of the checks until he has either Wings or Mantis Claw, but there are 2 checks, and most importantly, he can get access to the right side of the City of Tears this way. Meanwhile, Jason does finally get that jump in the Spore room and finds just a Hollowness Seal, unfortunately. So it's worth mentioning, with the right side city access, Tash has access to the Kill Gorgeous Husk goal. We'll see if he's going to rush that or focus more on checks on the way down. But I think he can be reasonably sure that Jason did not come this way because he marked the Talk to Cloth goal not too long ago. Now we'll see Jason come back and do presumably False Night. He'll find Dive, and we'll see if he continues on to the City of Tears like Tash did. Tash trying to get up into this arena at the top of the room there. You have to pogo one of those enemies who was just not cooperating, so he gives up on it for now. We'll probably see him come back for that later. And not too many random check goals on this board, so these random charms aren't doing too much for either runner at this point. So Hera at King Station. That's interesting. It's not too relevant in the mode that they're playing, which is Lockout, where the particular dreamers are not required. But it does give infection to the crossroads if you acquire any dreamer. Tash, with his right side city access already, doesn't really need infection in the crossroads, so he probably will not be purchasing that.
It's not until you would find the other 2 dreamers that you'd go back and get that one for the Black Egg check.
Yeah, absolutely. If you get all 3 dreamers, you can check the Black Egg Temple. There's 1 check there. Sometimes you can find something there, but it's usually not very early in the logic. It's usually quite deep, in fact. Jason finding the dive that Tash found much earlier. If you notice, Tash tried to get up to where the Gorgeous Husk was, but it was without dash. It's actually kind of annoying. I think you either need some pogos or to come from the top of King Station, so he just gives up on it for now. He might be heading toward Lemon instead. So we're still waiting for the first real movement item from either runner. We haven't seen any of Green Path yet. It is possible to access that by either killing the Balder with the Desolate Dive, or by coming up from Queen's Station, where we saw Jason earlier. We'll see if he decides to take that path, or if he decides to come to Resting Grounds like Tash did.
We also haven't seen the Crystal Peak Darkroom. We do have access to that 1 check because of the dive.
That is true, yep. There is a single check they can get there. There's 1 egg that's just to the right as you enter through the dive entrance to Crystal Peaks, but without any movement, they are unfortunately unable to get that at the moment. But there is 1 extra check near the bench in the Darkroom in Sea Peaks that they do have access to now. It's pretty long if you're not planning on continuing through the Darkroom to Resting Grounds from there. We saw nothing in the rafters here. Tash is going to go up and check this Rancid Egg. Actually requires either a damage boost from the exploding birds or a pogo off a bench in the background. Tash gets the damage boost first try. Oh, and finds the lantern, so that's actually pretty big. That gives him quite a few additional checks. Unfortunately, he already has right side city access. With dive normally, that's extremely useful because it allows you to go through that dark room and Sea Peaks much more easily. But
without vertical, though, is that technically in logic?
No, so that, yeah, you need, I believe, some kind of vertical for that to be in easy logic. As a reminder, both players here are playing on easy logic, so any skips like what we just saw from Tash are not included. Tash deciding to purchase Hera after all. I wonder what he's planning to do with that.
I believe he's going to try to get to Salubra.
That's a good point. Actually, with the money that he has, he may be able, with a couple of trips, to be able to buy out Salubra, which is one of the goals on the board. Normally, you need some kind of movement to get up to Salubra. When you have an infection, though, you can pogo the infected Vengefly from across the side of the room to get up to the bench there.
So, well, he may not be able to buy out Salubra right now. At least he'll have an idea of what he needs for money, and if he finds anything interesting there, he'll definitely be able to buy some mobility if it's there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just as a reminder, oh, he hasn't killed Grez's mother, so I'm not sure what will happen with that infected Vengefly he had started to bring over. But just as a reminder, this will not be in logic either. The Vengefly Pogo is not considered in easy logic. It is considered in harder difficulties, but it's still a good play from Tash to see what's at those shops.
Jason getting the King's Brand. We'll see if he decides to do anything with that.
Yeah, Jason's the one who found that white fragment, so you got to think he's thinking about it. And that Vengefly waited patiently outside the door while Tash fought Grez's mother. Very polite of it. Wayward Compass for Tash. That's actually one of the few random check goals here, so that's actually very convenient for him. And now he does have that bench access that he can come back to later. Looks like he'll check Sly while he's here. We'll see if he buys the shopkeeper's key. He may have already bought it. No, it doesn't look like he does according to his tracker.
As he picks up the shopkeeper's key. With little money left to spare if Sly pays off.
Yeah, it's still fairly early, and you can see that Tash has spent 16 and 50 geo and still has 530, which is nowhere near enough for all the things that he needs to buy. Oh, a simple key at Sly as well. I missed that on the first go. That can give him access to the waterways. Also, Slash Millabelle in the Pleasure House is a goal on this board. That requires 2 simple keys to unlock. So the first simple key is required to be used on the waterways, but the second one, you're free to open up the Pleasure House. And that would give him access to that goal. And Tash doing the hidden station check, just a city crest, not particularly useful for him given that he's already got access to the city. Jason's still following in Tash's footsteps a bit here. It looks like both runners kind of following each other now. Tash has made the decision to head down into the fungal waste, which we saw from Jason earlier. He's still looking for any kind of movement, and he knows that it must be somewhere in logic. All the things that he's been checking recently are somewhat out of logic. So he's going and looking for that progression. Yeah, it's worth pointing out they need some kind of movement, or I guess maybe a shade skip to get to the massive moss charger. That could be why Jason didn't decide to try to go for that goal earlier. But both players just desperately in want of some kind of movement, a dash or any kind of vertical, just something. And we'll see Tash pick up the Dream Nail from Leg Eater. That's pretty useful for him. There aren't too many... Oh, actually, obtain Dream Nail is a goal on the board. We missed that earlier, I suppose. Jason checked Leg Eater, but I guess he didn't have any money at the time, so maybe he just never noticed it.
Yeah, this seed is definitely money. I mean, you look at Tash has already spent 2,100 geos, so he's a little bit under halfway to that spend 5,000 goal.
Yeah, this is a seed where money turns out to have been extremely important. Yeah, I guess when Jason came through here earlier, he actually didn't even have enough money to give to Leg Eater, so he never saw that Dream Nail was there, which is really unfortunate for him. He easily could have farmed that 140 geo or so and gotten that goal before Tash. So we'll see the same check from Jason. Oh, I guess he doesn't want to try it with only 1 HP there, but that's where Lantern was, which can be pretty helpful. Oh, Tash, no. Tash, unfortunately, taking a death there. Jason also died there earlier, so we'll just call it even now.
And Jason's about to probably beat himself up for that not having enough money earlier, seeing that Dream Nail is at Leg Eater.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see if he decides to rush the Elder Who goal with that. It's pretty annoying with only Nail 0. And no good spell. Dive doesn't work exactly very well on Elder Who, but it is one goal that he can get, and he decides to work out. So I guess he won't be. Tash is also not going for it, so it's not particularly contested at the moment. Yeah, so they found a ton of things that they needed to buy in shops or at stags, and they still have no movement, unfortunately. So we'll see where the seed takes us, but it's kind of astounding to see this 2,000 spent for each side with neither having any, well, they have some things to show for it, but not any real movement. So Jason getting quite a lot of money here. He may be able to get this spend 5,000 geo goal. We'll see if he decides to head down and buy out Salubra at the same time. It looks like he's just going to spend all the money here at Sly, though. Yeah, and he'll easily get to that spend 5,000 geo with another 800 left to spend. And so after that, both runners kind of in the same position. Tash is finally going to head up here to Green Path, which we haven't seen from either runner. So given that we've seen a lot of the rest of the map that's accessible to them, there's a good chance that there's going to be some kind of progression up this way.
Makes you wonder if Jason forgot that. Did Jason buy Hera? I don't believe he did.
Yeah, I don't think he did. I know he was really tight on Geo at the time.
Yeah, but with buying out a shop being on the board.
Oh, absolutely. He may have also forgotten that the Infection Pogo can get you up to Salubra as well. But I guess we will see where he decides to head next. Tash did make his way up into Green Path, so we'll start to see some of these checks here. We'll see if he goes for this Moss Charger goal. Again, you need some kind of movement or air stall or something to get over there. So unfortunately, Tash doesn't have an easy way to Moss Charger. You can probably shade skip it, but we'll see what he decides to do.
We see one Nail Art and the Queen's Garden Stag behind Essence.
So maybe in the end of the day, this is just a stag seed. We've seen about 4 or 5 stags already through the various shops and checks. Yeah, and 2 nail arts on the board as well. So one of those at Essence can be pretty important. Jason may be finally going back to check grubs. I don't believe we ever saw this from him. Yeah, it looks like that's what he's doing. So he'll find that if we were paying attention when Tash was doing it, there's not too much there.
Tash going up the way that he does not have to pay a toll.
Wise routing on this particular seed.
Every geo is going to be worth it.
Yeah, the other area that we haven't seen yet that is technically in logic is the waterways. With the simple key from Sly, we could see Jason potentially head that way. He seems to be a bit undecided as to where he wants to go. Oh, he might be going for Elder Who now. Guess we'll see. Yeah, he's heading toward where Elder Who is on the right side of Fungal. I think that's not a bad decision. Although, whoever finds movement first here is going to have quite the advantage. And we'll see Tash here killing the Vengefly King. Unfortunately, again, he doesn't have many useful spells for this fight. You can use Desolate Dive, but it's probably slower than just killing it with up slashes like we see there. The Elder Who fight has begun. We'll probably be seeing that for quite a while with only Nail, unfortunately.
I think Elder Hugh has 250 hit points, so...
That's quite a few nail hits with Nail 0. Each hit is only 5 damage, so... Yeah. Oh, Jason, heal. Oh, no. So Jason, unfortunately, dying there. That fight can be very annoying when you don't have dash or any spells, because it's hard to get out of the way of the falling... pancakes, for lack of a better descriptor.
And that's what we were talking about earlier, with a second Dreamer being found now.
Oh, wow, and 655 Geo, that's the Watcher Knight's chest here at the Green Path Stag, so he had to pay 140 Geo, but it really immediately pays off for him. It looks like we're going to see Elder Who one more time from Jason here.
Looks like we might be seeing a Tash Shade skip to get that second.
Yeah, looks like that is exactly what we're going to see. So this, of course, is not an easy logic, but with the kill Massive Moss Charger and Vengefly King goal on the board, this is one relatively quick goal he can get. By using his shade to pogo over to where the Massive Moss Charger is. Jason's struggling a bit with this Elder Who fight. Without dash, again, it can be very irritating. You don't have a whole lot of options if 3 of those pancakes spawn right on top of you. And we'll see the Massive Moss Charger here from Tash. This boss is not exactly the most interesting fight. You can slash, and the pushback will keep the Massive Moss Charger away from you.
So at this point, Jason has to be wondering if Tash has some way of getting over to Green Path, or if he did a shade skip.
Yeah, this might make Jason kind of think about where progression might be. We may see him go Green Path at some point, thinking that Tash may have found something there. Tash, of course, now out of logic again, still has not found any actual movement. So we'll see if he decides to finally go to the waterways after this. There aren't a whole lot of areas that are still in logic, in easy logic, that could be the actual intended progression.
I'm still waiting for that Crystal Peak Darkroom play.
It could very well be. Unfortunately, when you come there without any kind of dash or wings or anything, you can't check that dive egg, so it really is just one check for quite a long walk, but at this point, they should be kind of desperate for some kind of progression.
And Elder Q is dead on Jason's side.
Yeah, you really do love to see it. That fight is never fun. Let that be a lesson to anyone watching who wants to do Elder Who with no movement and nail 0, that it's not a great fight. You just have to be extremely patient and get a little bit lucky with where those spells spawn on top of you.
Chat is saying that No Eyes is in Logic, but unfortunately that lantern was gotten out of Logic, so while that No Eyes room is known to have some good stuff in it, it's not actually in Logic yet.
Right, yeah. So that actually is not the intended progression, at least. We will see Tash come down here to the City of Tears, and Jason also doing it at the same time. So if progression is in Waterways, we may see both runners start to head that way. Tash is trying a pogo here. It's a little bit irritating. Those guys sometimes don't want to cooperate very much, but luckily he gets it and is able to check this check here. Again, this is not in easy logic, so a lot of the checks that Tash has done have been outside of logic, but unfortunately he comes away with still not much to show for it.
We have our first look at the Waterways with Jason right now.
Yep, there's, I believe, 3 checks, maybe 4 that are in logic here. The left 2 are the ones that Jason is going to check first. There's one more that you can dive down to, but without any kind of vertical, you actually can't get back out. So doing these checks first is wise from Jason. And he finds Gathering a Swarm. Unfortunately, that's the other half of the random obtain goal that's on the board here. So he could have gotten that if Wayward Compass hadn't been found significantly earlier.
Alright, so nothing on the left side of the sewers waterway so far. We got that check at the egg.
Yeah, just elegy there. Now he'll probably go down to that dive egg that's by the bench in Waterways. Again, we're kind of running low on potential areas for progression, so that Crystal Peaks Darkroom egg could very well be it. I don't believe we've seen the Soul Catcher check from either runner either. We'll see soon, I'm sure.
Helmet.
'Tashir is selling to Lem. You have to imagine he's coming back for the buyout Salubra goal, I would assume. Yeah, that looks to be what he's doing here. Oh my goodness, there's a third dreamer here in the Waterways, so it may actually be that progression can be found in the Black Egg Temple. All 3 dreamers have actually been found in Logic, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, all 3 dreamers have been found in Logic, so we'll see if Tash gets the key from Sly to check the Waterways.
Yeah, so Tash found his second dreamer up in Green Path, and I believe that Jason has not checked that yet, so he can't actually do that. And it looks like from Tash we are going to see this Soul Catcher check in the mound. As I mentioned before, it's a little bit slow, but when you're running out of checks like both these runners are, it becomes smart to come back for this one.
$40 in and still no mobility. You have to be wondering where they're gonna find it at this point.
Absolutely, especially with all 3 dreamers having been found and no other movement. And that's just a Hollowness seal there, so we're starting to... I'm starting to believe in this Black Egg Temple being some kind of movement. We'll see. And chat pointing out that it could be a white fragment that we could find here in Black Egg Temple that would actually put the Abyss birthplace check into Logic. So we really have to hope that that is not where this seed is headed.
That's what we're hoping for, right? Content?
I'd like to remind everyone that there is a 3-hour or 3.5-hour time limit on these, so hopefully that's that doesn't become important here at this scene. Yeah, so Tash doing the Hornet fight, I guess he didn't do that earlier when he was checking green path, so that's one of the few remaining checks here. He can't get the Lake of Uncheck without any vertical, unfortunately, even with Isma's tier, but we'll see what he finds. And the third Unbreakable Charm, wow, that's all 3 Unbreakable Charms before any kind of movement. That's one heck of a seed.
Jason going back to check the soul catcher, he'll discover that it's just a seal.
Yep, unfortunately, neither runner actually knowing that all 3 dreamers are somewhere to be found, so it may be quite a while before we see that. We may see the Peak's Dark Room egg, though. It looks like Tash is going to head down into No Eyes. Again, this can't be intended progression, because he did find the lantern out of logic, and this Dark Room is not in easy logic, but it could be progression for him in any case. We'll see what he finds. Yeah, meanwhile, it looks like Jason may be heading up to Green Path. You have to wonder if he thinks that Tash has found some kind of movement between the Salubra goal and the Massive Moss Charger goal that he's already marked. But Tash is actually just as out of luck as he is, finding only a heavy blow there.
See Jason going for that relic, hoping that that's something.
I can't recall if we saw this check from Tash. I assume that we did when he was coming up this way, but I just can't remember what it might have been. Tash, meanwhile, going for that Peak's Darkroom egg that we've been talking about a little bit. Again, it's quite a slow check, but he's really down to his last handful of checks here.
It's a slow check, but it also gives you that bench. So for easier access to come back later when you have Claw and Dash.
Yeah, that's a good point. There is a bench basically right next to that check, which is a very useful bench late in the game. Yeah, it looks like Jason is going to head up into Green Path. He may find that third Dreamer, but we'll see if there's anything at this Dark Room egg first. And just a pale ore here, so we're really running out of potential options. I think that Black Egg Temple is actually extremely likely to be intended progression at this point.
Yep, we just need to hope that Tash gets that key, or Jason continues on through Green Path and finds that other Dreamer. If he remembers that he can buy the third one.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't believe he purchased that third one at King Station, so we'll see if he does remember that. Meanwhile, Tash might actually be heading down to this. There's a check at Dash Master here that has been in Logic. The Mantis Claw check is not in Logic without some kind of movement. So we probably won't see that from him. He may try for it anyway, but the Dash Master check should be available to him.
I believe that all bosses require 2 spell logic. So Moloch wouldn't be in logic yet, even though... most people can get to it.
Right, yeah. Even with dive, I believe that they need one extra spell of some kind, either a second dive or a fireball or howling wraiths to put Moloch in logic. Of course, they could go and check Moloch regardless, but for easy logic, I don't believe it's there until a second spell. It's apparently any non-dive spell. So just Howling Wraiths could have put it in logic, but only having dive alone doesn't. As you see Tash just skipping the Mantis village. It is possible to do that with a Mantis Pogo, but it is kind of a pain without dash or any kind of movement, essentially. We will see the Dash Master check from him, though.
Seeing as he read one of the tablets, he may be trying to go for the auto logic play.
And it's actually just Soul Catcher here. Right, so the second tablet in Mantis Village normally requires vertical to get to. Again, I believe that you can lure a Mantis to try to pogo off of, but it's certainly not easy, especially without any dash or anything like that. Now, Sapalm's pointing out that apparently the Mantis Pogo doesn't get you there, but you can Explosion Pogo instead. I'm not sure if in the Randomizer version they've made the Explosion Pogo what it was on the 1221 version of the game, where you could actually pogo off the explosion itself, or whether it's what the current patch version of the game has, where you have to pogo only the Sporg. Okay, it's apparently the 1221 version, so that's a lot more doable. Meanwhile, Jason does find that second Dreamer for him. If he remembers that the third is at King's Station, he may go check that now.
You see, Tash hasn't gotten that memo about not being able to do that pogo.
Yeah, he's actually trying. There you go. Oh, and he still misses it. Yeah, so this is what I mean. Without dash, this what he's trying to do is very difficult. Those mantises very rarely want to cooperate, and he just gives up on it in the end.
All right, here we go. You love to see it. Black egg.
All right, the black egg check. If this isn't anything, I am out of ideas as to where it could be. And fortunately, the black egg check with no movement will take him about 20 to 30 seconds to just walk across the long room. So we'll see what Tash is doing in the meantime. It's not actually clear. It seems like he's getting this Geo. I don't really know what's that Geo that he needs, but I guess we'll find out.
He's got about 20-30 second walk, and as he's like crossing his fingers, hoping that there's something here.
Yeah, absolutely. This is this scene has been very very interesting, to say the least. We'll see what kind of curse progression is actually here.
We have calls for Grimchild and White Fragment. Let's see.
And it's Crystal Heart. Oh my goodness. So progression actually in Black Egg Temple, and it is arguably the worst of possible movement items for actually getting to new places. So
Indeed.
So now we're gonna see where he decides to go with Crystal Heart. Meanwhile, Tash has finally bought that simple key and is heading down into the waterways. So you can assume that he'll be a couple of minutes behind Jason here in finding C-Dash. Yeah, so Chad is pointing out that the simple key in the basin underneath Broken Vessel is now in logic with Crystal Dash. I'm not even sure how many more checks than that are added, so we'll see. Maybe that's where the next piece of progression is.
I mean, Jason going over to where Tash has already gone, and we've seen that this side actually is nothing over here, so He's gonna check this, and then I don't think he has hidden stack station, or he might. He might have bought it.
Yeah, he spent 5,000 geo earlier, so he may have gotten it during that purchase rush. I'm sure that he remembers it exists, but remembering to go back and check that simple key is maybe another step.
So we're about 50 minutes in, and we have a pretty amazing seed so far, where progression is Crystal Heart.
If it really is simple key Basin, I'd argue that that is actually more cursed than either Grimchild or arguably even a White Fragment. So we'll see what is actually found. Again, this check that Jason is doing was actually already checked out of logic by Tash, so we know that we're not going to find anything here.
Simple key Basin is gonna be like Grim or a White Frag.
Yeah, it could just continue to get worse from here. Yeah, I do want to remind everyone that this seed is an easy logic seed. So an easy logic seed does not by any means mean a seed that's easy to play necessarily. It just means that no particular skips will be required in the logic. Instead, it can make you go full clear the map to get into Black Egg Temple to get Crystal Dash. So we'll see how this progresses.
So here we get we know it's coming. Yep, we have the third Dreamer.
Monomon, and we'll
instant back out.
It's gonna go straight for the Black Egg Temple. Yeah, this is... Meanwhile, Jason is trying to figure out what the heck Crystal Dash actually gives him access to that he hasn't already checked. Yeah, so we'll get one more long walk from Tash here. Tash, having already done several of the checks that Jason decided to do, may actually still be at an advantage having done those out of logic. We'll see where he decides to go next. Meanwhile, Jason checking the vessel fragment above the city storerooms. I believe we have already seen this check from Tash, but I'm actually not 100% sure about that. If this turns out to have been something, I think both runners will be kicking themselves a little bit. City Storeroom Stag was one of the first things that they got access to. And it's just King's Station Stag. Meanwhile, Tash getting that Crystal Dash and trying to figure out what to do with it. Oh, and Tash does indeed go straight to the hidden station, so that simple key in the basin is something that he's thinking about immediately. And just deep focus hiding at White Palace. Path of Pain is on this board, so we may still see that depending on where this race goes. Okay, so we will indeed see this check from Tash. Jason's still trying to figure out what exactly gets put in logic by finding that Crystal Dash. We see him going through City. There's not too much there that Crystal Dash gives you more access to. Kill Gorgeous Husk was actually not done by either player earlier, so this is actually going to be a good goal for Jason to pick up here while Tash is moving on and collecting this simple key here. And it's Descending Dark, so what Descending Dark puts in logic is actually some bosses that were previously not in logic. Jason unfortunately dying to the Gorgeous Husk meanwhile. So the seed just keeps getting progressively more cursed, I suppose. I'm not sure what Jason has decided to... Oh, he has to come from this way because he can't get up from King's Station with only C-Dash. I see, okay. Tash, meanwhile, is trying to get up there the same way he did earlier, but I believe without Dash, it's either extremely tight or not quite possible to get there. He's trying to pogo this Husk Sentry. I see. So this is kind of an interesting situation where Tash is trying to get up to that Gorgeous Husk goal. Meanwhile, Jason has just decided to come from the top from Resting Grounds, and we'll see. It looks like Jason's got the lead doing that. Oh, but Tash finally gets the pogo. Oh, this will be interesting. Oh, I'm not sure he can quite get up there, actually. Oh, it looks like he can't. Okay, so this should be Jason's goal, then. Tash desperately trying to find a way there right as Jason marks the goal. That is unfortunate for him.
Going to be interested to see where we finally get progression.
Yeah, it's not great when you're an hour into this race, and unfortunately, despite doing lots and lots of checks, neither runner has found any actual movement. I guess Tash never did check this vessel fragment above the city storerooms. Jason, meanwhile, may be heading down to that basin check. This check to the right, the Wanderer's Journal. I don't... Oh, no, Jason.
Oh, Jason.
Unfortunately falling in the spikes there. I don't believe that we've seen that Wanderer's Journal from anyone, actually. That also is in logic now.
Especially with having Tram Pass and a way to deepness at that point. That might be something.
That is true. I think that you need Mantis Claw or Wings to be able to progress very far in Deep Nest. You might be able to get a check or two there without it, though. Tash going and doing the Balder Shell check. So this is a check. They've had a Balder Killer for quite a while, but actually there's one small portion where you can't jump across. You have to dash normally in the vanilla game. C-Dash, and of course, will actually also get you across that gap. So this is one more thing that's open with C-Dash. That's not the first thing that you think of, but Tash has realized that it is now in logic. All right, so we'll see what this check is. You have to hope it's something for Tash, otherwise he may be forced to go and do Fluke Marm. And it's an egg. Oh my goodness, the seed is really taking the runners for a ride.
The seed is cursed.
I think everyone should maybe make note of this seed number for future races. This is This is one heck of a seed, all right. Jason checking this vessel fragment, which is also just a rancid egg. I don't believe that we had seen that from Tash before.
Okay, so this is the first time Tash is getting the autopilot seal.
Yeah, I guess he actually did skip this earlier. We had seen that previously from Jason and found that it was nothing. Jason, meanwhile, going and getting this simple key basin check finally. So he'll find D-Dark there. And you have to wonder if he'll decide to go for the bosses or whether he'll continue trying to do other checks like Tash has done. Tash just continually pointing out checks that we aren't thinking about. So this this journal just to the left here that you'll see Tash get is actually possible with C- and in logic, but it's only quick slash. So once again, unfortunately finding nothing at all of these checks that he's doing. I have to wonder where he's going now. He's already checked the No Eyes Dark Room. So I'm not entirely sure what check he has here. Looks like he's just heading down into Fog Canyon again. Maybe to Queen's Gardens, but I'm not sure that you can do that with just C- to get that egg check there. Jason, meanwhile, trying once again to get this egg. We know that it's Lantern, which is really unfortunate that Jason is not able to pick that up. Although at this point, we know that the easy checks with Lantern turned out to not have been anything, so it wouldn't be too much progression for him just yet. Yeah, so Tash is going to try to do this. I don't believe with just C- you can. I believe you need either dash or claw and C-. And we're going to find out soon here. Yeah, and he realizes and just starts to head back, I guess. Or is he trying to pogo one of these? Oh, this will be interesting. Oh no, he just gives up and decides to warp out. Jason, meanwhile, trying that egg again. Unfortunately, not able to get it just yet. We may see him go for it one more time. Tash doing everything in his power to avoid fighting Fluke Marm, heading here to Mantis Village once more to try to do this pogo that he was unable to do earlier. And unfortunately, that left platform is just a little bit higher than the right. So you can't actually C- across either. You actually do need to do this Mantis Pogo. And with Unbreakable Strength equipped, he has fewer chances. Oh, just misses it. Unfortunate from Tash.
He is putting off that Fluke Worm.
I don't blame him. Fluke Marm with just Ascending Dark is not the most fun fight in the world. But at this point, you start to run out of other options. Yeah, unfortunately, even getting to the Nailsmith right now is not easy. It requires a Vengefly to cooperate with you to pogo over there. So getting nail upgrades for Flukemarm, which would be nice, is not the easiest thing either. Tash, meanwhile, heading to Kingdom's Edge. There is one relic that I believe... No, it might need dash, because these platforms look impossible without dash. Okay, yeah, he decides not to try for it. Yeah, so both players finding lots of early items, including Dive, Tram Pass, Isma's Tier, and it just turning out to be that all the movement that would actually get them to most of the checks in the game is just gated behind a very long chain of progression, unfortunately. Yeah, Tash really searching for anything else to check. He's kind of out of ideas, it seems like. We'll see what he decides to come up with. Meanwhile, Jason heading down into Fungal. I don't believe that we've seen the Dash Master check from him yet, so that may be where he's heading now. Tash back in the Crossroads. He may be trying to do the skip up to Glowing Womb. So again, this is not in logic and easy. It is possible with infection, and with C-Dash, it's not too terrible. You have to lure an infected Vengefly up to get into the Glowing Womb room, but the spike tunnel itself, you can just C-Dash across, and then pogo some spikes to get up. Yeah, so there you see it from Tash. He gets it on the second try. Now he'll go grab a Vengefly to lure up into that area to do this Glowing Womb check. The Vengefly not being the kindest person. There we go. He gets it.
Yeah, what this is going to be, considering how out of logic it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So once again, this is out of logic. He can get... Oh, no, he goes back through. Oh, no, he needs to actually go get that Vengefly again to come back up. You do hate to see it. Without dash, you can pogo that little infection bubble. But he may not have realized that he needed that on the first try. So we'll see this again from him. Hopefully he'll get it just as easily the second time. There you go. So yeah, he's got it now. Now he'll do this this gauntlet. Again, the only spells that they have is Descending Dark. So we'll see. This gauntlet can be a little bit annoying without the proper equipment. And meanwhile, it looks like Jason is going to go and check some of those checks that Tash did earlier. He's here in Fog Canyon doing the seal that we saw from Tash. Unfortunately, we know he's not going to find anything here.
We've only seen one Dream Nail so far. Even Flukemarm would be easier, even if he had like a way to get back to him.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So normally when you're playing this game casually, there's a shortcut that you can open up after you get down to the area with Flukemarm. But without vertical, it's actually not possible to get up there without pogoing some enemies. So you don't even have the easy route back to Flukemarm. If you die, you have to go through that room with all the flukes in it one more time. Yeah, so Tash once again searching. Unfortunately, just a mask shard at Glowing Womb. So he's just looking for, at this point, anything he can do, in logic or not. Tash in a deep think here, just sitting on the bench. Jason heading down into Crystal Peaks. Again, I don't believe that there are any more checks available to him here. He's already done the dark room. Or was that Tash that did the dark room earlier?
Yep, Tash did the dark room earlier.
Okay. So we'll see this from Jason then. We know that it was not progression, unfortunately. Yeah, so Tash heading back down here. He may be going to get some nail upgrades and actually try to fight the bosses. Unfortunately, no relics to sell to Lem. I guess he had already sold everything. We see with over 5,000 geos spent, it's been quite a geo-intensive seed.
If he is going for a nail upgrade, he's going to need another pogo to get over there.
Yep, definitely. He needs to lure Avengefly over. Unfortunately, without vertical, you can't get up there normally.
Being very careful in this particular area because of that.
Falls into the pit. Again, without vertical, you unfortunately cannot get out of that pit. Sometimes if the Vengefly comes down with you, you can pogo him to get out, but in this particular scenario, it's not meant to be. And it looks like he's actually just going to give up on that entire adventure and head actually down into the waterways here. So we may see Nail Zero Fluke Marm with just D-Dark from Tash. Yeah, so as you see him going through this room, just a reminder, if he does die to Fluke Marm, because you can't open the shortcut, he needs to do this entire gauntlet one more time to get back there.
This is why people put it off so long, because just trying to get back here on a Nail Zero when these things don't die in one hit is just a real pain.
Absolutely, yeah. And this fight itself is also not easy at all, with just Descending Dark and Nail Zero. So Tash is going to use Descending Dark on the platforms next to Fluke Marm. You might think that you have to dive from above Fluke Marm. That's not actually the case. Descending Dark has a hitbox which extends horizontally outward. So what he's doing, I'm not sure if it's extending far enough to actually hit Fluke Marm, but that is the right way to do the fight. And he gets the kill on the first try. You do love to see it. So now we get to see what this seed...
Howling he had that right now.
Which, along with King's Brand, allows them to check Abyss Shriek.
Oh, man. What a seed.
This seed is actually something else. I don't think we could have come up with something a little bit more cursed. I'll also point out that Howling Raids does also put some of the some other boss fights in Logic. In particular, the Brooding Moloch is now in Logic, so that could be progression. But of course, Tash has exactly the cursed seed in mind and is coming straight into the Abyss to see what's at Abyss Shriek.
That Moloch fight is not easy with just Descending Dark. So, I mean, you saw like 4 of them attacking him.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's Love Key. Okay, but with Descending Dark and Howling Wraith, no, they have no way to get up to Collector. So I don't believe that Collector is in Logic just yet. Okay, so it may be at Moloch. I'm not sure what else gets put in Logic with just Howling Wraiths. We're going to find out. Yeah, Jason, meanwhile, looks like he is going for some nail upgrades, unfortunately falling victim to the same thing that Tash did, which is if you fall between those pillars without vertical, there's just no way back up. Yeah, Tash going around checking all the stags just in case he forgot something that might have been at one of them. As we know, there wasn't actually anything, any progression at any of the stags at this point. Yeah, he's really struggling to think what else is now in logic. And I'm not sure, other than Brooding Moloch, what else might be. We might see that from him now. He's warped to Dirtmouth. He's just going to Sly. I guess he's rechecking shops, figuring there must be something at one of them that he missed. Oh no, and Jason falls down one more time. Unfortunately, unable to get back up. We'll see if he keeps trying to go for these nail upgrades, or if he just does what Tash did and just attempts to do Fluke Marm with Nail Zero.
Tash just checking everybody to make sure.
Yep, and once more confirming that no, there wasn't actually Mantis Claw at one of the shops that we missed an hour ago, unfortunately for the runners. Oh, he's back in Crossroads, so we may see Moloch yet. This is one of those races where if Moloch turns out to have some actual movement, it really could have been different if one of them had decided to go for that check. It is technically available to them, but out of logic very early on in the game. It's just usually slow enough that it's not something that the players want to do. But of course, at this point, you really need to start going for anything you can really think of. Of course, in contrast to Flukemar, Moloch is not a bad boss at all with the kinds of upgrades that Tash has, luckily. Meanwhile, Jason is getting over to this this side where the nailsmith is, and he may be able to get his nail upgrades after all. He's got a couple of tries at this pogo, and he gets it. Oh, he may need one extra pogo? Oh, nope. He can just jump over it. Nice. Okay, so Jason does, in fact, get...
And a Wanderer's Journal at Moloch.
Okay, so Moloch wasn't actually anything, while Jason gets his nail upgrades. So, okay. We're really running out of potential checks. Maybe chat can chime in with what other checks are actually in logic here.
Yep, Tash doing...
Is the Spirit's Glade check in logic with 200 essence and C-dash, or do they need some kind of vertical for that one as well?
I believe they need some kind of vertical to get up to that platform.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Yeah, they could check the Blue Lake Egg with a pogo, but again, that will not be in logic because they need to do an infection pogo to get into Blue Lake to have the height to C-dash across. This check that Tash is doing above the city, above King Station here is a little mini gauntlet. It's also not in logic because of the pogo that you see him doing there. So the question still remains where intended progression actually is.
I believe this is in logic.
The gauntlet itself is, but they can't get into the gauntlet without some kind of vertical or an enemy pogo. I don't believe that that's an easy logic. Oh, okay. Apparently
it the enemy pogos were in logic.
Okay, that's my bad. I thought basically all the enemy pogos weren't in easy. I was mistaken on this one. Okay, so we may actually see some progression here then.
Oh no!
The second white fragment.
We have the white frag!
We're getting one more trip into the abyss from Tash here.
We have
it's
one check.
Yeah, exactly one extra check, which is the birthplace egg. Not Void Heart. He can't get there without Shade Cloak and some vertical. But the birthplace egg you can get to just by dropping down. So we'll see that from Tash in just a second here. Meanwhile, Jason is getting the kill on Flukemarm, finding his howling rates. We'll see if he decides to go straight into the abyss just like Tash did. Looks like he realizes that this puts Moloch in logic and is going to head there. Unfortunately, we know that that is actually just a Wanderer's Journal. Meanwhile, Tash picking up the Distant Village
Stag.
We see just another step in the chain that you just thought could not get any longer. Turns out actually can, and Distant Village Stag is where Tash is going to be headed now.
Oh, man.
Green Stag here, he almost buys it just thinking, okay, what extra curse check do I have to do now? But he's already been there, of course, so it's unnecessary.
Alright, so we have one check in here that we can do after we get trapped on the bench.
And Tash giving us a nice glimpse at this music glitch. If you hold a direction while sitting on the bench, the trap bench music will play through the whole Beast End section. He'll only be getting one check for us, so we won't hear it for very long, but always nice to see. Of course, if that one check turns out to be Mantis Claw, he could search the rest of the den, but given how the seed is gone, I'm not crossing my fingers on that one.
I think everybody's hoping for like a Grim. Nope.
There's the clock. After 1 hour and 21 minutes, we have our first real movement item in Dash. And you have to imagine Tash is happy, but after having checked so much of the board, he doesn't even know what the heck that gets him that he hasn't already gotten.
Yep, he's got one of the two checks in mind that I have. Going to check Mantises, and he can check Thorns.
Yep, Thorns is another one. Actually, one more thing, and given the way the seed is gone, may be relevant. He can actually technically check that dive relic that he was trying to get to in Kingdom's Edge. With Dash, he can now actually make it up to that, and Isma's tier allows him to go from the top, and dive lets him get it. He'll have to warp back to King's Station and do it one more time. So that's where my bets are on where intended progression is.
Yep, you can also check the dive egg at Crystal Peak now.
That is true, and this check was only Defender's Crest. It's been so long for progression, I forget what is even on this board, but I don't believe Talk to Lim with Defender's Crest is. No, it is not. Yeah, and looks like he's heading straight for Thorns of Agony. That's another dash lock check. It's a good one to check here. Yeah, and as Chad has mentioned, the Dive Egg and Sea Peaks is another good one. He can also get that QG egg that he was trying to get with a Pogo a bit earlier. We may see him go back for that, depending on what these checks are.
Problem is that when you're missing mobility, like you leave like 1 to 2 checks.
Oh, absolutely. This doesn't open up like new entire areas for him. It's just one-off checks here and there that weren't possible before, but are possible with Dash, which again, Dash is extremely useful for moving around quickly, which of course in a race setting like this is very important, but it doesn't open up as many checks as a vertical progression item might have, like Mantis Claw. I'm just finding Geo. That was the Mantis Lord's Geo chest there at Thorns of Agony. But he's got checks in mind now, it looks like, so he'll be checking quite a few. It looks like he's going to head down to Queen's Gardens, potentially. Chat bringing up a good point. Is it possible to get into the collector, the Tower of Love? I think you still need some vertical, but dash might get you closer there. Well, we're gonna find out. Yeah, so here's that QG egg I mentioned just a little bit ago. He tried to do this earlier with the pogo, was not successful. Meanwhile, Jason finding that white fragment, that's one more step in this progression chain. He'll go into Abyss and find that distant village stag, where he can finally find the dash that Tash has been using for a few minutes now. And it's just a rancid egg, of course. Given the way the seed has gone, I'm sure that it will be the very last check on anyone's mind that the intended progression will be at.
It is interesting to note just how for how long the seed has gone on, they are relatively still like close to one another, like as far as like getting the dash.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And depending on where progression is and the order that Jason does his checks in, you could see him getting out to a lead in progression, actually. So we'll see how this goes. Tash is doing one more check here in Queen's Gardens that I had forgotten is accessible now, which is the love key check. So he's on his way there now.
About 30 minutes is when Jason marked the gorgeous husk. So it's been 30 minutes without a box.
Yeah, and that gorgeous husk kill was also one of the more cursed potential goals they could have marked. Tash trying to do some pogas from below, Jason walking all the way from resting grounds twice to get it. So it's been a while. Oh no, Tash, you can't go down. Okay, he's getting the moss hatchling to come up and cooperate with him. Good. Yeah, so this is the love key check. You have to kill 2 Mantis Petras here to unlock the gate to the love key here, and it is Mantis Claw. That is finally some vertical progression for Tash, and this will open up a lot of the board. So this is pretty big. Jason is not too far from finding dash, but we'll see if love key is where he decides to head with that.
I mean, just right off the bat, Tash can go rescue Bretta to get that square.
Yeah, he can finally get the rescue Bretta plus Sly,
which is exactly where he's going right now.
That's definitely a good choice from him. He has access to break the 420 Geo Rock and Kingdom's Edge now as well.
He can do Lurian because it's just fighting the Watcher Knights now that he has.
And he's got D-Dark. Yeah, so a lot of the board is now opened up for Tash, so this is going to be really big. And as we know, it's not going to be quick for Jason to get to that particular check. Not only is it one of the more forgettable ones, but it's also quite long to actually go through the process of checking love key.
Yep, so right now Tash can get 2 boxes right back to back with Bretta and the second lore tablet that he hadn't been able to get to before.
Oh yeah, that's a great point. The lore tablet in Mantis Village is now a very easy goal for him.
Except he forgets about it.
Yeah, he's not going to check Bretta or do that goal. So you hate to see someone who would save Bretta and then immediately warp somewhere that isn't to go check Bretta.
He's going for that Ismas check, which is a square on the board, so it's not...
That is a good point. Yeah, he does have easy access to this with Crystal Dash and Mantis Claw, so he'll get this goal pretty quickly. Although you would like to see his Mantis Village check. That one's also pretty quick, and he's already done the first of the 2. At the same time, Tash can be reasonably certain that Jason has not found Mantis Claw yet. given that no claw locked goal on the board was marked yet by Jason, and the progression chain he had to follow to get to it.
Yep, and then he also has that, he can reasonably get Joni's Blessing now because he has the Lantern.
That's one more goal. Yeah, he has quite a lot of options. I mean, with the damage that he has, he can also do the Collector. We've seen that he has Love Key, but he finds Lifeblood Core. So naturally, Monarch Wings will be in the Lifeblood Core room, given how this seed has been.
See Jason following not too far behind if he's actually going to do the egg and the Love Key at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he'll certainly check this egg here. Let's see if he remembers to progress down to Love Key. Yeah, meanwhile, Tash is coming back for this lore tablet goal here in Mantis Village. So Tash is going to get out to a pretty commanding lead. These few minutes where he has Claw and Jason oh no, Jason warped out of Queen's Gardens. He didn't move on to check Love Key. So that's going to be rough. We'll see where he decides to try to go. But without finding Mantis Claw there, Tash is going to get out to a very commanding lead soon.
Tash forgetting for a moment that he has already gone over that way.
But he does get that goal with comfortable 1 HP remaining. And he remembers to check Bretta, which turns out to be Sprint Master. Not essential, but sometimes nice to have. Makes you just go a little bit faster. Yeah, so we'll see Tash do some of these claw-locked checks here. Again, he can be reasonably certain that Jason does not have claw just yet, but you would like to see him make progress towards some of these goals, and it does look like that's what he's doing now with the 420 Geo Rock in Kingdom's Edge.
You love to see that charm.
Yeah, Shaman Stone's a great charm. That'll make, if he does decide to do Collector, it'll make the fight a lot faster. So we'll see what he decides. The 420 Geo Rock is a pretty quick goal that he can check pretty easily with what he has now. And it does look like he's heading down to do that. Yeah, so we'll see this dive locked check. It's just a Hollowness Seal. That one was possible before Mantis Claw. Significantly more annoying when you don't have it, though. Oh, Jason looks like he's returning to Queen's Gardens, so I believe that he has realized that Love Key is accessible now, and that might be where he's headed next. So we'll see how far behind that'll put him, but he may still be in this game yet.
At this point, we're looking for wings, so we can get the Willow's Dream now and Shade Cloak for 2 of the checks on the board right now.
Yeah, absolutely. If he finds a Shade Cloak before Tash, that could be a big step toward a comeback, and obviously Wings would help a lot as well. Tash getting the fake dive, that's a pretty tight trick where you dive on the ground, it breaks the floor, but you don't fall through it. That allows him to get that check without having to come warp back and do it again. Oh, but he's going away from the 420 Geo Rock. I wonder if he's forgotten about it. He's going to check Quick Slash.
Probably probably a good play. I mean, if it ended up being something, because it's easier to warp out from the 420 egg than it is have to climb back up to check the rapid quick slash.
That's a very good point. The 420 Geo Rock is extremely far down. Jason making the same mistake that Tash did earlier, but I think he realizes he can do this Moss Hatchling Pogo. Yep, and he's going to get it. Nice. Yeah, and we'll see Jason here get to the love key check. All he needs to do is defeat these two mantises, and he'll have claw as well. So he's a few minutes behind, but there are still some claw goals that he has access to, and we may see him snipe a couple of those from Tash.
And in about 30 seconds, he'll know where Tash is, so he's not going to try to go for the egg.
Yep, absolutely. So Jason's starting to head to Kingdom's Edge, and he turns right around.
Immediately backs out. There we go.
Yep. That's the... Oh, he's going back, though. He might be doing Collector. I'm not sure exactly what he thinks he's his best play is here in Edge, but we'll see. Yeah, he just checked his inventory. I think he's going for the Collector goal. I think he was double-checking to make sure that he had Love Key. Meanwhile, Tash is going to check Shio. So this is now possible with Claw and C-Dash and Dash. So this will be another quick goal for Tash. Yeah, since finding Mantis Claw, there hasn't been any real progression from that we've seen from Tash. Just a bunch of goals, of course, which is very important in this race, but still no Shade Cloak, still no wings. As Tash is having a little bit of trouble with this, but he gets it in the end. Shio turns out to be Vengeful Spirit, which is pretty useful. Could have been a little more useful a little bit earlier in the seed before they had the progression that they have now. And he will head up to Howling Cliffs. This is an area that has quite a lot of checks, and it also has the Check Joni's Blessing goal. So this will be one more thing that he can get.
Especially with C-Dash, that'll be relatively quick.
Yep, and again, they have Lantern for quite a while. Actually, I guess Jason may not have ever picked up that Lantern, so this might not...
got that Pogo.
Yeah, okay. So this is probably not a goal that he would even worry about doing, but he'll see Tash mark it in a couple of minutes here. One more Lifeblood Charm. So I guess I lied a little bit when I said there wasn't any more progression. Those Lifeblood Charms do allow them to get into the Lifeblood Core room, where there is... 2 checks that are now available to them.
Yep, we're gonna see the Gorb fight for the Essence.
Was there anything particularly useful at Essence? I can't recall.
Nope, but the 200 Essence is still in play. Nobody's checked that yet.
That's a good point. Yeah, we may see that be relevant. Meanwhile, Jason does get his Collector kill. I believe, yeah, you're allowed to mark that goal as soon as the Collector moves into that permanent stagger stage. That is where his health has been reduced to 0. Jason knows that and marks the goal then. Unfortunately, just a Wanderer's Journal, but at least he does get the goal out of it. we'll see Tash go through Joni's Blessing room now. Still not the easiest room in the world, even with Lantern, but significantly easier with the abilities that he has.
Yeah, definitely with the Unbreakable Strength on, too. Moving with a little bit of caution.
Yeah, has a couple of troubles, but looks like he's fine now. Hopefully. Meanwhile, Jason looks like he's gonna head down to Umu. This is a goal that they may have actually had access to without Claw. I know to get the Dreamer check after Umu, you need to get Claw, but the boss fight itself may have been available prior.
Jason just trying to lock Tash out of anything that is currently obtainable and leaving it up to chance.
Absolutely. I think that's about all that he can do. He didn't have Lantern, so check Joni's Blessing wasn't exactly an option for him. I would still prefer to see Lurian's Telescope from Jason rather than Umu, because you get 3 checks there for the Watcher Knight fight as compared to just the 1 from Umu. But he could be thinking that Tash was heading that way, and he'd prefer to do something that he's pretty sure that Tash isn't doing just yet. Tash, meanwhile, is going to clear out the rest of Howling Cliffs. We'll see if he finds anything useful here. He's going to light the Nightmare Lantern.
Yep.
Yeah. So that allows him to check where the vanilla Grimchild charm would be. So it's 1 check. It's a pretty slow cutscene you have to sit through, but he does get a check for it, and he is in the area. Yeah, it's an interesting play to see from Tash, given that Jason has marked the collector goal. So he should be aware of the fact that Jason now has access to Mantis Claw in order to do that. So you might expect a little more urgency, but I guess he's feeling comfortable with the lead that he has. Umu, meanwhile, not playing super nice for Jason, but he's dealt quite a bit of damage to him. You imagine that you'll see him go down pretty soon. Looks like Tash might be heading up to do the Watcher Knights fight, so this could be pretty big for him. This will be, I believe, goal number 12 for him if he gets it. So that could be a pretty commanding lead. He'll only need 1 more. Now, unfortunately, missing those pogos. You can reset them by exiting the room, which Tash is doing now.
So we do have the lever skip right here from the 1-2-1. So instead of having to kill the guard husk, he can just go straight.
Oh, and Jason gets Umu. He played that fight a little close, but he got it in the end. So with that lever skip that Ash was mentioning, you have this dark room that you need to do. The room doesn't actually light up unless you kill the guard that opens the gate. But luckily, it's not too difficult of a dark room. There's just 1 big platform you have to jump up to, and then the room transition is just above that.
So all the goals we have left, we have 1 that's locked by Wings, 3 of them that are locked by Shade Cloak. We need 2 more Dream Nails, and we need to find another nail art.
Yeah,
And a
yeah.
key.
Yeah, it's all of them are going to require some kind of random check. So for this game to go in Jason's favor, he'll need to get all of those random checks and complete the Path of Pain. Tash just needs one of them before Jason. Jason taking the Crystal Peaks route, this has not been checked by Tash, so this could pay off for him because he needs those random goals. I think he suspects that Tash is fighting the Watcher Knights now, and he'd rather not try to contest that.
With the 3 checks here, I think this is the right play. I mean, I would love to have seen Jason try to steal this one, especially for the random factor of it.
Yeah, I do agree. Getting 3 checks for this fight, especially with how slow Umu can be sometimes, is definitely preferable. And he finds Dash Master. That again will give him some extra speed. At this late stage of the game, doesn't matter too much, but always nice to have. Jason having some trouble? Okay, he's fine. All right, so yeah, Tash looked through Lurian's telescope, and that is his 12th goal. So now it's a race. They need to find random checks, and Jason needs to find a lot of them before Tash can. As Ash mentioned, there's a couple of goals that are locked by Shade Cloak. Those include the Cloth quest line, which is behind Trader Lord, and the Markoth goal. There's a simple key they need for / Millabelle and Pleasure House. Check Void Heart also requiring Shade Cloak. And then Path of Pain, Dreamnail, Willow's Meal require wings. And then Path of Pain additionally requires 3 Dreamnails.
Tash going to the dense areas. The only area probably denser than this one right now is Crystal Peak.
Yeah, Crystal Peaks has a lot of checks, so I do like that play from Jason. We'll see what Tash finds here. We haven't seen any of Deep Nest either. Again, for Jason, unfortunately missing that lantern, we're not likely to see it from him, but we may see Tash head down there at some point. Yeah, for now it looks like he's going to do the Mantis Lords here. That's again 3 checks, and with all the spells that Tash has, it shouldn't give him many troubles.
Jason getting a little bit safe.
Yeah, Crystal Peak can always be a dangerous place. Oh, especially this room he's in.
This room.
Oh, please, Jason. Yes, okay, he's fine. Never in doubt. He was fine the whole time.
Oh, for an egg.
A rancid egg. You'd love to see it. Meanwhile, Tash has started the Mantis Lord's fight. Again, with the spells that he has, this shouldn't be too long of a fight.
Jason's just making sure that check is going to be safe when he does it.
Yeah, Jason is sitting there at 1 HP. He's trying to be careful here. Tash, meanwhile, gets the kill on the Mantis Lords, and we'll see again 3 checks here. So we'll see what that brings him. Jason finding another copy of Isma's Tear. In case anyone's not aware, we are playing with duplicate major items on, which means that there were 2 claws, 2 pairs of wings, 4 dashes, 2 Isma's Tears, 2 C dashes, and we still saw what we saw at the beginning of the seed with the lack of progression. So duplicating the major items sometimes can save you from a cursed seed, and sometimes it just actually doesn't matter.
Alright, so Mantis is not paying off this time. We still have the super secret teal.
Yep. So yeah, a lot of high density checks coming from both runners here, and still haven't found any of the random goals that we're looking for. Again, they're looking for an extra dash, a wings, a nail art, or a simple key. And any of those checks can give Tash the win. So we'll see. It looks like he's going to head into Deep Nest now.
If Tash were to find a simple key, he would need a little bit more money, though, I believe, to get yeah,
that is the point. He probably has some extra relics that he can sell to Lem. I believe that he needs 2550 geo to get Millabelle to go to the Pleasure House, but I could be wrong on that exact number. We may find out soon enough. And we'll see this check, affectionately known as the Super Secret Seal, from Tash here. It's just a pale ore. This seal is one of the more hidden checks in the game. Very difficult to find during a casual playthrough. Jason coming back to check the crypts. I like this from Jason. There's a couple of extra checks here that weren't available without Claw, but now that he has it, they become very quick, and we'll see if that pays off for him. Flower Quest is unfortunately one of those checks, which you can't imagine he would do. Meanwhile, Tash having some troubles in this. In fact,
Jason finding Shade Cloak, that is huge.
That is really big, yep. Yeah, so again, Shade Cloak is gating 3 different goals on the board. 2 of them not too bad, Markoth and Check Voidheart. The third one, the ending of the Cloth questline, requires you to kill Traitor Lord. Unfortunately, neither of them has the Queen's Garden stag bench, so that requires them to go all the way through Queen's Gardens just to even get there. So it's a pretty long goal. We'll see what Jason prioritizes here.
I believe we saw that on the board, though. I think it was either Essence or Grubs.
You might be right. It might have been at Essence, and if you have to kill Markoth anyway, then that's not bad at all. Yeah, so we get to see this third check down to the Abyss here. He forgot to put King Soul on the first time, unfortunately, so he had to come back. You do need to open Birthplace. I guess he had opened it earlier, but maybe it was closed. I'm not sure if he went all the way down to check. Tash having a little bit of trouble in this room here, trying to play it pretty safe. Again, we've seen most of these checks from Jason, so if Jason can go and get all 3 of those Void or Shade Cloak goals, while Tash is still looking for these items, he could be catching up pretty quick. Yeah, Crystal Peak's not being too kind to either runner here today. Jason working his way through this room. These siblings here, they don't give any soul when you hit them, and they deal 2 damage, so it can be a very dangerous place when you only have 5 masks. Alright, so Jason makes it through and manages to check Voidheart. It is unfortunately just a Charm Notch, but again, he does still have 2 more goals that he can get to quickly. Well, 1 more goal he can do quickly and another goal that may take a little bit of time. But Markoth can be a place you might expect to see him go. He's going to a stag. He may already have Queen's Garden stag? No, he was just checking to see if he did, I guess.
We're gonna see him go the long way through Queen's Gardens.
Yep, looks like he warped to Queen's Station and is gonna going to go all the way through Queen's Gardens to try to get this goal as quickly as possible. I don't blame him if he's forgotten where that Queen's Garden stag was. I do believe it was at Essence, as you mentioned, but if he has forgotten that, then it makes sense to try to rush this, because he doesn't know how far Tash is behind in finding Shade Cloak. Yeah, and Jason has already cleared out the first of these gauntlets, luckily, so he still has to go through the second one when going the long way around, but hopefully it's not going to be going to give him too much trouble with his upgraded nail.
I don't remember where he died at this point, so I don't know if he's gonna go back and get his soul.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm not sure either. I imagine it must have been in Crystal Peaks, but I don't remember exactly where. Yeah, and one other thing to note with the dream bosses, especially Markoth, because Jason has upgraded his nail, Markoth will have a significantly higher health, so it can be a bit of a slow fight. At the same time, it won't be as slow as going all the way around to Trader Lord. Yeah, so we'll see the Descending Dark check from Tash. I don't believe we saw that from Jason when he was going through Crystal Peaks, so we'll see what we find here.
We still do have 2 other copies of Dash in play.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Tash could find an extra Shade Cloak somewhere that Jason has not even checked. Oh, and that's the second Dream Nail. So he finds Dream Gate. One more would give him access to the White Palace. Unfortunately, to do the Path of Pain, he would also need wings. You can't do it with just Claw and the abilities that he has.
I believe we're about to get a crypt check. Oh no. Probably going to fight Zero to get the 200 essence.
Yeah, that looks like exactly what he's doing. A little bit slow, but not too bad. It's wise to think that nobody... Oh, he has Shade Soul. Yeah, this is really fast, actually. Yes, and he gets the skip on the essence gathering animation there, even though he warps out right away. You love to see it. Yeah, so interesting from Jason here. He has 2 options. He can go down. Oh, by opening this gate, actually, it's not too bad because he got the corner for a bench, so he can come from that side. I was going to say you can go all the way around to get the stag bench, and then it's slightly less long to walk back to Trader Lord, but it'll take a bunch of extra time. So he's going to have to bet on himself beating Trader Lord on the first try here. Again, he has upgraded Nail and Descending Dark, so hopefully it's good enough. Just a Vessel Fragment at the Clade check for Tash.
Yep, so this time Tash just the one that's a couple minutes behind in finding.
And those couple of minutes were crucial, but if he sees Trader Lord get marked here, he may just rush Markoth, and that would be all that he needs to be able to complete this match. So we'll see.
Yep, going for the easy one that he knows that he can get to fast.
Yeah, I think that's a good decision. Even without the knowledge that Jason is doing Trader Lord, this is a much faster goal relatively, so it makes sense that he's rushing it. He also knows that Jason has access to Markoth because he has marked the check Void Heart goal, so he knows that he needs to rush a little bit. He's already done this. Oh, he's just doing the C dash over here. Yeah, so Tash prioritizing Markoth, and I think that's the right play for him.
Oh
no.
Double death.
Yeah,
I hate to see it.
Yeah, so at this point with Tash pretty close to Markoth, all he needs to do is kill him in one go here, and he should have this secured.
Good comeback from Jason, blocking him out of the ones that he knew that weren't random.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's hard to do sometimes, especially when you have like tunnel vision and you want to try to get like as many checks as you can.
Yeah, and especially the way the seed played out, where you're looking for progression for so long. There, Tash gets Markoth. That will be his 13th goal. And we will bring the racers in here for a little bit of post-race commentary.
Yep, we have a 2-hour seed. I think that's our longest one yet.
Yep, and I have just labeled Tash the winner. They should both be able to join here now.
Oh my god, what was that seed?
Hey Tash, welcome.
What was that?
That was a seed.
Seriously?
Absolutely was indeed a seed.
Welcome, Jason.
That was insane. That was... Oh my god. Oh god.
Tell us what you guys were thinking in the beginning when you just were trying to like find some mobility.
So
I was just trying to think like, what else could there possibly be? It's like,
yeah, at some point I considered going to Elderbug and giving up and getting the map. I delayed doing it for like one more check, and then I was like, screw it, I have no idea where I'm supposed to go now.
no idea what else is logic. Yeah, that logic chain was insane. I think
it was like C-dash somewhere out of the way, then you're supposed
C-dash
to do
at Black Egg Temple.
Right. You're supposed to do Fluke Marm with like theoretically nail 0 in logic.
Oh, yeah. And just D-Dark.
When you found D-Dark at the simple key in the basin there, did you think, oh, it's Fluke Marm time, or did you think, okay, progression is somewhere else?
I was thinking their progression had to be somewhere else, but at a certain point, I had just eliminated everything except for Fluke Marm. I had literally checked everything that was in logic except Fluke Marm. And
yeah, I checked on the map, and Fluke Marm was indeed the last thing I had to do.
Tash, you were making me a bit nervous with those 4 flukes surrounding you and getting like only having like 2 health at that one point. I'm just like, oh my god, just kill them.
Yeah, well, I mean, the easiest way to kill flukes surrounding you is with just de-darking them.
Yep.
So
I decided to go the safer route and skip up to the nail smith and get my nail up there to nail 2.
I actually tried skipping to Nailsmith once and then messed it up and then said, you know what, I'm just going to go do Fluke Marm.
Yeah, you guys both fell on the way over there.
I've got D-Dark. I'm just going to go for it. And thankfully I managed to get it first try. And what was it at Fluke Marm?
It was Abyss Shriek, which let you go to get... or not Abyss Shriek, it was Wraiths, which let you get Chuck Streak, which gave you like some stag, which gave you something horrible.
I think it was Dash. It gave Dash.
Oh, yeah.
Eventually the chain gave Dash.
And then there was
Dash
like
allowed you
Vanilla
to go check
Claw?
Love Key.
Or no, it was Love Key, it was Claw, right?
Yeah, it was Love Key.
There was a white fragment in the gauntlet above King's Station that was put in logic by Wraiths. And that white fragment led you to check the birthplace egg, which was distant village stag. And
Oh, right. Yeah, that's
yeah.
what
Oh,
that
yeah,
was.
that was it.
finally
Yeah.
dash. Yeah, good.
Good content, Seed.
That scene was insane. I
say
Yes,
that
it is.
watching this, but like if that was me running it, I'd be sitting there in like tears right now, crying at Fluke Marm.
Yeah, great job to both of you for working your way through that progression chain. Jason, you were just a couple of minutes behind Tash. Unfortunately, that allowed him to mark quite a lot of claw-locked goals in that time.
Yeah, I was heading towards the 420 Geo Rock when I saw Tash mark that, so I detoured to something else. I forget what I detoured to.
Collector is
Collector, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, collector, right? Yeah, I managed to get claw early enough to get all of the fast claw checks, and that I think made the difference. Just a small amount of difference, I guess, but like how much of a difference was it between the two of us getting claw?
It was like 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, it couldn't be more than something like 5 or in that range. And given that claw was found at something like the hour and a half mark, that is not that much of a difference at all. So yeah, great job to both of you.
Good game. Good game. That was
GG's.
That is. Oh, jeez. I'm gonna have to watch that back. Yeah.
That was a harder seed than the hard seed that we saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy doesn't mean that. It just means that you don't have to do the skips.
I feel like Fluke Marm logic might need to be reworked for easy.
Especially
maybe.
When you're sitting there and you get the fluke and you're like, okay, let's check this. I'm hoping that it's a claw or a cloak, and it's wraith, and you're like, I could have used that in this fight.
Yeah. And then wraiths immediately. Wraiths actually put several other things in logic because.
I went to Moloch first. I think Moloch isn't in logic with just D-Dark.
Well, I ended up going back to Moloch actually. I don't remember when I did Moloch, but I realized that wraiths technically put Moloch in logic. So
I think you did the streak check first, and then Moloch very shortly.
Something like that.
I was worried that Moloch would be the progression because technically, of course, that was available to both of you from the very beginning of the seed. But no,
thankfully it's nothing.
It was significantly more cursed than that. Yeah.
I'm wondering where all the other stuff in the seed was.
And neither of you found wings at any point. Of course,
Nope.
Dreamnail Mill still on the board. There were 2 dashes that are somewhere out there as well, and wherever the Duke Claw is. So this will be an interesting one to eventually go through and look at the log for to see.
I'm gonna create a new seed with a new run, same seed, and see if I can check the spoiler log. But yeah, let's see. Yeah.
We also only ever found one simple key.
Yeah, same here actually. Okay, so this should.
So, did I end up getting C-Dash before you? Because I got Kill Gorgeous Husk before you did.
I couldn't actually figure out how to do the platform and to get up to Gorgeous Husk with just C-Dash.
I went back through Resting Grounds, dropped down.
You go from the top of King Station. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
That was actually right around the same time, Tash. You were trying to pogo your way up.
I was trying to get pogo my way up there, and then you marked it. And I realized
I embarrassingly died once to Gorgeous Husk.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, right.
Yeah, C-Dash was yours first, Jason. It's just that the progression chain from there was still
also
quite
cursed.
long. Yeah.
Okay. There was one copy of Monarch Wings at Stag Nest. That's the duplicate. The other Monarch Wings was in Beast's Den.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so that was actually checkable for both of you once you got Mammoth Claw, but it makes sense that neither of you went back there.
There was a simple key at the journal in Ancient Basin. That one would have been possible to get.
Yeah, I never went there because like I skipped past it because I didn't really want to get stuck there.
Yeah,
without
there was another
dash.
simple key at Dung Defender and one more at Trader Lord. At
Oh,
White
okay.
Fragment.
Okay.
Jason was
Yeah,
fighting
so
Lord right at the end there.
yeah, and I unfortunately died.
And Nail Arts. Great Slash was at Essence.
Yeah, I saw that. It was like
Dash
some horrible number.
Oh, Dash Slash was at Grimchild. I had activated the Grim Troop Lantern, but hadn't actually gone back to check it yet. And then Cyclone Slash was at Shape of Un. So that would have also been possible to get.
Yeah, like at the end we had basically all movement, so yeah.
So
it
at
became
one
just
point,
after you guys got Mantis Claw, so that made the difference.
For the complete Path of Pain, there was a Dream Nail at Coliseum 1.
Oh,
And another Dream Nail at the Blue Lake Rancid Egg. Okay.
Ah, okay.
All right. Well, GG's. That was fun. That was
GG's. That was
God.
insane and fun. Yeah. What a race. Right. What a seed.
What a seed indeed.
Great job to both of you. And yeah, make sure you tune into the next race. That'll be tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern time. I don't know what that is in other time zones, but make sure you tune in.
10 and a half hours from now, roughly.
Yep.
There we go. 10 and a half hours. Yeah, thanks for watching, everybody.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, we have... Yep, Conra versus Manchurian Quipit on SpeedGaming 1 tomorrow.
All right, yeah.
We'll see you all later.